Okay, here we go, guys. Whoa, thumbs up to taxes. That's what we're talking about tonight. Taxes. Do you like them? Do you hate them? How do you feel about taxes? I'm going to assume that even the most liberal person out there probably doesn't enjoy paying taxes. And I'm not going to say the most conservative has some reason to pay taxes, but the most rational out there can see the importance of paying taxes. So, having said that, I think we'll have a pretty good discussion on taxes.
Hold on. When you're talking about taxes, there's all different types. Are we talking about just income, the U.S. national income tax? Are we talking about state taxes? Are we talking about property taxes? Are we talking about sales taxes? Because we've only got 10 minutes, so let's pick just one to discuss tonight.
Well, let's talk about federal, since that happens to be probably the.
When you say federal, do you mean Social Security tax, or do you mean income
tax?
I
mean the income tax. We're talking about income tax.
Just the income tax.
I mean, we could talk. I mean, there are cities like Philadelphia, New York, and other cities that have city taxes. There are cities. Many states have state taxes, and then on top of that, we've got the federal income tax. So let's talk about federal, since that seems to be the more controversial issue, and we can talk about others. Like for people who live in the West, some of the Western states have a tax on food, and so that could be something we could discuss another time. But tonight, let's talk about income tax.
Okay, well, now wasn't the income tax was started when? Back in the 20s?
I believe so.
30s?
Yes, in that time.
Right before the Great Depression.
Before the Great Depression, yes. It was when you talk to the anti-federal income tax, they'll say it was done in the cloak of the night.
Oh, and it wasn't ratified by enough states, right?
Actually, it was ratified by enough states. That's why it is.
Yeah, tell me more about this. So, because the thing I always hear about people who are tax protesters is it has to be ratified by this many states, and it was ratified by not this many states. They missed one state, and they went ahead and pushed it through as an amendment to the Constitution.
Well, to amend the Constitution, you have to have 3/4 of states, I believe, to have everything passed.
Yes.
So to have it, either you get it passed or you don't. And the issue that I always think about is if it's all done by under the table for nobody knowing about it. At the time, we had the 40+ states, as part of the United States. Did we suddenly go under 30 of those 40 some odd states and do it sneakily? That to me doesn't make sense. I think the reality is you can debate it, but the Supreme Court, which upholds the Constitution, says it's legal. So
here's the reality: is if you don't pay your taxes and you're a tax protester, they will surround your house with federal agents, and they will trick you by sending a federal agent there who looks like one of your friends, and then get you. There was a tax protester. They were in. I don't remember where they were. This was fairly recent, like about a year or so ago. They were protesting taxes, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to pay our taxes. They had their own little compound, and they had their own electricity. They had their own, supply. So they cut the phone, they cut their power and all that stuff, and they still like, we're not going out. And they didn't want a whole nother Branch Davidian thing like that happened in Waco, Texas, where they killed 60 people, including kids and stuff.
Right, which is a horrible situation. Which adds to the.
They didn't want that, and so that kind of has made them a little standoffish. It's like, we'll just wait outside, and so they supporters would bring them food, and so they had a federal agent pose as a supporter, bringing them food, and that's when they got them, and they nabbed them and carted them off the jail. So,
or you could have what happened. I don't know if you heard about this. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is a tax protester, funny enough, and it was
so in addition to being an so-so action star,
he has his movies, his moments in his time, but being a so-so, or however you want to rank him, actor, he doesn't think it's legal and he's not paying it, and there are several African American preachers in the South who decided to hold a vigil for him and to help pray for him so that he'll make the right decision and that the right outcome will come from it. So that's a side note, but it's interesting that's something that's recently happened.
Now here's the funny: if that trial goes all the way to jury, if it goes all the way to jury, I think it'd be awesome if the trial does somehow go to a jury and the jury chooses not to convict him.
Well, I think the reality is on tax issues. I believe it goes to a federal court, I think there's no jury on that. So I think that's different. I think that most tax issues, go to the federal or up to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court has backed.
Yeah, there's no way they'd let a jury of your peers try you for something like that.
I mean, we know people who are against paying taxes, or they want to change the style of tax, and I think that might be more appropriate to talk about. But let me explain what kind of tax system we have right now. It's called a progressive tax, and the idea behind the progressive tax is that you pay an amount between zero, so if you're really poor, you don't pay anything, up to I think I could be wrong. It's 32%.
I think it's 33 or more.
It might be 30. No, it's not more. I think it might be 32, but I think last time I looked it was 32. But we'll say 33 just for argument's sake.
Well, but see, here's the trick. So sure, you're paying 33%, but if you own your own business or you're a corporation, or there's a lot of deductions. Like if you have kids, you can deduct, and so on and so forth from your taxes. So it can actually turn out that a poor person, well, let me back up. A person making 50 grand can end up paying more as a percentage of their money than a person making 100 grand.
Right.
Just because a person making 100 grand is able, they may have more kids. They may get more deductions because a person making 100 grand has more money to invest, and like you can do a 401k, I think it is. No. There's a Roth IRA. And
Roth IRA and the Roth IRA.
No,
and then
there's another type of IRA that you can deduct
after. Right.
And I forget which is which, but the point is that there's ways. If you know what you're doing, and people that are making 100 grand typically know more about what they're doing, and so they can get through all the loopholes. Where someone making 20 or 30 grand is having a hard enough time just making
their ends meet,
ends meet to sit there and either hire someone to figure out the taxes for them, or to do the research on their own time because they're trying to pay bills and keep their mouths fed.
And more importantly, people who have money to afford a tax preparer usually also have the money to keep track of everything because they have the time to keep track of everything that they need to deduct for their taxes. But back to what the progressive tax is, it's supposed to be, minus all those loopholes and all the things that are there, to tax you on the effect of how much you make. So if you make $100,000, you're supposed to pay a higher percent of tax. And that higher percent affects you the same as if you were somebody who made $20,000 and made a lower. So let's just say for number's sake, and this is not factual, but we'll say for number's sake, that you made $20,000 a year and you pay 10% federal income tax.
That's $2,000.
That's $2,000. Well, let's say you make $100,000, okay, and you paid 30%. Okay, that would be $30,000.
30 grand.
30 grand, and that's not actually what happens.
So take home. One guy has 18 grand. The other guy has 70 grand.
Right.
Okay.
But it'll affect them about the same. That's the idea behind it. Now, as he said,
someone making 100 grand is going to argue this quite a bit and say that affects them a heck of a lot more. Or someone making 20 grand is going to favor the other way. So it actually. It divides people. It creates animosity.
It's what John Edgar calls the two America. Unfortunately, there is a mindset difference between the two, and I think when it comes to federal taxes, that's something that needs to be changed. I think you get rid of the loopholes, that will help a lot, and there's some ideas to fix it. There's you've got the flat tax. What's another one? You've got
there's the fair tax.
The fair tax,
which is basically a national sales tax, which I don't like that one either. I mean, it has some good benefits and some bad benefits, but
and then there's some there's a hybrid. I've heard of a progressive flat tax where you have like three to five areas of from 0 to 33%, but there's no loopholes, and so there are different ideas. But the reality is that there is an emotional issue that has to be overcome, and I hope whoever wins the presidency, Republican or Democrat, is able to bring a consensus together to get rid of some of those bad feelings. So.
All right, good luck with that, because no one likes to pay taxes. Rich people hate it, poor people hate it.
Yes, but nobody wants to give up their programs either.
Well, that's for another video.